You know, hey, part two of my interview with my good friend, Mr. Don Collymore, as we left off. Talking
Yeah,
about the guy in the subway there. You saw his potential, right? You saw
yeah,
yourself there, right?
yeah, yeah. But it's like I said, like the city's becoming Gotham. We're seeing the results of the cutbacks, and these are years of both provincial and federal cutbacks that's been downloaded onto our municipalities. I would never have pictured, especially during the pandemic, tent cities show up in Toronto. I would never picture like I got almost assaulted and got into it with this homeless dude. He was aggressively panhandling. And I said to him, I don't have money. And buddy got into my face. And I said, why? You think because this is the village that we're all weak, that I wouldn't like, if you touch me, I'm like, I'll knock you out. Not exactly. Well, some people are like, you gotta be all peaceful, but no, if someone
That's
gets,
not with your that's with your dance moves, is it?
yeah. Do my dance moves, are you? And what do you think?
I'll
Practice
jiggy
that.
you, buddy. I'll jiggy you.
Yeah.
I'll do the
Yeah.
fresh prince.
But it's just like, yeah, yeah, like, take my mouth, take my, in my case, take your words out of your mouth of my husband or something. I don't know. I screwed that line up. But
I
like,
know that's
yeah,
okay.
but like, yeah, and I get it. There's a lot of people that's also desperate, and you see the desperation in
Yeah.
people's faces, and it's
People don't
sad.
care.
There's no affordable housing right now in Toronto. There's no people aren't being paid enough. No one is being paid enough money. And people are seeing record profits from companies. And they're saying, well, if we give you an inch, then inflation is gonna be up. Well, inflation is up and no one
Yep.
could afford food, you know people are becoming desperate, and I think there's a meanness. People are also tired, they're cranky. You can only work two or three jobs, and when I first came here I did that to survive, and then to go back to do that, there's sometimes, to work a full-time job and then to do a side hustle, it is difficult, you
Yep.
know and it takes a lot out of you. And imagine if you have children, a family,
Oh yeah.
and
That's where you put.
how do you spend time? So the quality of life family balance is now out of whack.
Yeah.
And all for what? So that, and we keep cutting. As one guy put it, the axe vote for, trees vote for the axe because they just said he's made out of wood, and look how shiny and smooth he is. No, the reason why he's made out of wood and shiny because he's coming to cut your asses down.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in this province, in this country, that do not get it. And they're not going to get it, as we said in the West Indies. Those that don't listen will feel, okay? And they don't get that again, because, and this is, maybe it's me being, I'm a socialist. I don't give a damn. I'm social. People say socialism and people hold your head. I would wish anytime anyone tells an NDP or anyone in this country that they're socialist and that it's bad, I would say thank you very much, because you wouldn't have women's rights, you wouldn't have queer rights, you wouldn't have the right for vacation, you wouldn't even have the right to have sick days and maternity leave if it wasn't for unionists, if it wasn't for activists and other people who stood up to fight. You think big business is going to give you? No. Big business is only designed to do one thing: make as much money as possible. And this is the problem. You cannot run the government as a business. And people are fed up, and I get it, from paying more taxes. But if you don't, taxes are actually, and I wish, again, someone would say this, it's investments into communities. Because if it wasn't for our tax money, okay, so many of us would have fallen through the cracks if the COVID checks didn't come through.
Yeah.
Mind you, the government end up taxing it back, which sucks because they consider it income, which I think is
Are we the only
BS.
are we the only country to do that to our citizens? Give that.
I'm not too sure. I think other countries did
Yeah.
something similar. I'm not too sure. I think America may have done something similar,
Yeah.
but still, and people are like, yeah, let's go for privatized healthcare. Do you also understand? We have a perfect example what privatized healthcare looks like. And if you think your insurance premium is going to go down, there are people who are paying it to the nose and they're not happy. So
Yeah.
people have to wake up, and they have to
Oh, you got frozen.
wake up. This is why we invest in communities. You don't want tolls, for example, on the highways, for example. Fine. You don't want tolls. You don't want to have congestion. You want to have, because it's always the NIMBYs, and it's tough. I could just imagine how hard it is in the city, council. You have NIMBYs not in my backyard, but you also have to compromise. How does Toronto raise this money? You don't want your taxes property taxes going up. And to be fair, I don't think it should be the homeowners. I think there's a lot of big businesses, and not the little business. They'll push the little business. Oh, little guy's gonna go under. No, it's not the little guy going under. It's a lot of you big folks and you franchisees that
Yeah,
are just
exactly.
sucking the life out of this city and getting a
Again,
free lunch, in
it's good
my
about the
opinion.
community being fed up there. You know, it's true. I talked to like four people, different they're advocates for the communities, their wards, and we're all
Yeah,
talking right now, and they're saying that people are after this election, people are just realizing it's we're on our own, you know,
yeah.
and they're now gathering slowly, because it's never been done before. You know, you have different communities in each ward, but not as a coalition.
Quadrant, yeah,
We talked about before in the election, you told me about that, getting communities together. Now people are talking, right? You know, like
yeah.
just doing a video pod here and other people doing it. I talked to two people there forming, one's doing a newspaper, one's doing an article, like, you know, like you said. Even like
And
the
people have to talk, and there
have
has to
to,
be a
because it
movement,
has to.
because we live in this city. We don't want the city to become glass towers for just the ultra wealthy to
Yeah,
just come
exactly.
in, see their basketball or hockey games or their baseball football games and fuck off. Or they
Yeah,
come and they see, Pride as this great little festival and then fuck off and don't contribute anything. And there's nothing wrong with people that are wealthy. I know some people that are quite wealthy work hard for their money. I'm proud of it. But you also have to have that balance of care in society. And
that's a
I
problem.
think that's what's missing. And
It
it's
is.
because you have the people like the Trumps in this world, and even the Polyevs in this world, and even the COVID idiots that went down there. I'm going to go overthrow Trudeau. What? You're going to overthrow an elected government all because you're being asked to wear a mask from a disease that none of us, from a virus that none of us had no idea. Some people said maybe it came from this, maybe it's germ warfare.
Yeah,
We don't know where this came from. Has anyone thought about all the crap that we put into this environment, that this was going to manifest itself? Like,
yeah.
one of the shows that really freaked me out is The Last of Us. Did you see that?
I heard no, I haven't. I heard of it. I haven't seen it. No.
Basically, it's based on a video game, and they come to the point that, not to give too much away the plot, that the world sort of goes through an apocalyptic event, not because of a virus, because basically a bacteria or a fungi or whatever that actually exists in real nature actually starts multiplying because of the heat and everything and all the CO2 release. It starts multiplying. It does an evolutionary jump from insects to, I
Yeah,
guess, animals to mankind, and start killing people and turning into like zombies. So, this is an apocalyptic, like, I want to say a close to an apocalyptic, but it's scary. When I caught COVID, thank God I had the 4 shots. It wasn't bad. There are stories of people like still affected, they still
yeah.
having all sorts of issues. We don't know where this come from, but if our government's there to protect us, we should take all sorts of protective measures. And for you to turn around and throw a temper tantrum because you're being asked to wear a mask and stuff, and believe all these conspiracy theories that are being pushed by God knows what, some sort of bad actors with these AI programs based on people on Twitter, idiots on Twitter that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, is just scary. But this is the world we live in, and it's a world that's pushing this agenda of selfishness. And as much as Canada try to argue that multiculturalism, that we're not like that, we are like that, because look what's happening in Toronto. A 14-year-old is peddling crack on the subway. There's something fucking wrong with that, man.
Yeah, and then you got what? You got group of young girls killing a guy
Exactly, and giggling about it
and laughing
and
about it. Yeah,
thinking that is okay. And people like they should be thrown the book or whatever. Yes, they should be punished harshly. But where are the supports to prevent those things
yeah,
from happening? It's being dwindled, or schools are being dwindled dry. Teachers are leaving. They're not being paid enough money. Support staff is leaving. It is tough, and again, we have a government that's in power that is putting this austerity measure for whose benefit.
yeah,
And a lot of these people are like, because they played a separation, like, we hate this guy, we hate this guy. And that's why you'll have a far right person, people like, you'll have, like, for example, a racist, a white supremacist will stand next to an immigrant at these rallies because they play on their selfishness,
yeah.
yet they hate each other until
Exactly.
the shine turns on them too. You'll have queer people or LGBT people who will stand at these rallies and think what these guys are saying is gospel, yet they do not want us at all. because
Yeah.
a lot of people forget about Night of the Knives, and I think that's a very important part. And that happened when these fascists were rising, and there were gay people within the fascist party in Nazis during World War II that supported this crap. And guess whose ass was the first to be out next to everybody else? They were,
Yeah. That's
you
interesting,
know,
eh?
and they were thrown in jail, and they were murdered. And yeah, and we all know what happened there, and
Yeah.
yet there are idiots that will even deny that.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
someone said, and which is stupid, which is stupid. Like somebody said it, history don't rhymes, it repeats, and no, I messed that up. History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes.
You're right.
So yeah.
I was in Germany. I met this. I was going through Germany in the forces. I met a young lady. She was a dental hygienist, and she came to Toronto quite often. German, and then we got together, hooked up, and just had a good time. And then out of her mouth came these words, you know, the Holocaust doesn't exist. You for real? I said, no, it's just that she was so intelligent. She was high paying job, very educational, and very up there. She was by her peers. Then she came out of his mouth this garbage. I was like, you talk like that? Really? I was like,
yeah,
I said,
I've been with
oh,
those people.
it's just that, and she was in her 30s. Like, she's not
And
old.
you feel like to spray yourself with some raid after.
Oh my God. I had to walk,
I was
I had
with
to
a
walk.
guy, and I remember playing with this
Oh my
guy, and I
God.
pursued this guy, and I thought
Uh,
this guy was really hot. And then the shit that came out of his mouth about certain ethnic groups, and he
hey,
started talking
I
about
apologize. What are you talking about, buddy?
but it was about, he started talking about evolution and how people's
Oh yeah.
heads, and how Europeans are quite intelligent, and obviously Asians are quite intelligent, but black people tend to be very dumb. And I was just like, you get the fuck away from me
Yeah,
now.
it's funny what comes out of their mouths. It's hilarious. Well, the guy in the North Bay. I don't wear bikinis because I'm not gay.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, and it's sad. It's really, really sad. I just like, and I remember there was a guy before I met David that I pursued, and he wouldn't pursue me because he was all into race play. And it really broke my heart, because in the sense that he looked at me as a big black dildo, not as me. And he had to realize, first of all, I'm black, loud, and fabulous. Okay.
Was
I'm
that the
not
red?
a stereotype.
Is that the redhead guy?
No, this was a guy years and years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and he apologized, but he has his own kettle of fish that he has to deal with in terms of racism. He goes, "I'm not a racist," but he'll say do
But there's
do
also
racist stuff.
something we don't talk about in the LGBT community. There's a lot. There's also racism in the community, right? There is
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
not just about, not color. But I'm talking about like earlier talking about the first interview. Like I was seeing this guy, and that's where I met you at the dance, and we always dance with different types. Bears, queers, other groups.
yeah,
Trans. So he
yeah.
takes me aside. I says, Betty. I said, I can't handle you. I said, me. So, well, you're hanging out. Who do you hang out? What group do you hang with? I see you with these bears, these queers, these queens, and I said, buddy, what are you talking about? I said, buddy, I got an image man. Because he was a good looking guy, pretty one, right? No, nice guy. I said, buddy, I don't give a shit
Mhm.
what they look like. They're all my friends. So, anyways, he said he couldn't handle. I said, you know what? You're the stereotype. You go away.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna say goodbye to my guys that I go dance with and hanging out. And so that's what and that we talked about earlier. It still exists in the community, right? That whole metaphor of the white a certain look with the pride, and these are now getting taken out. It's just like that's what I thought about when you tell the story about the whole thing with the dating and all that, right? Because I know a lot of good looking guys in the community, and they won't hang out with bears or queens or anything, and they tell me that. They said, "You go out with your friends, we're not coming with you." Okay, goodbye. Bye, guys.
You guys are the ones that are going to lose out on seeing us community that is spectrum. And I was lucky when I came
We
here.
don't talk about the community, and it's people say it's a no. You know, talk about that in the LGBT community. There is, and also I'm going to say there's also people that are in the community that are against same-sex marriages, and that's for a fact. I know that.
Yeah,
I know three older couples that are like been around for like 30 years, married and all that. No, not married, but they don't believe in it, and we don't talk about it. See, the papers reveal so much about our community, but they don't see the inside what's going on. Because if you say
Yeah.
that, you know, say Don says, I don't believe in this. You know, oh, you're against the community. You're blackballed. Well, you are black anyways, but you're whiteballed. You know what I mean? No, but you know what I mean? Like you said, because
Yeah.
you can't, you don't see in the paper. You don't see any newspaper says, "No, these people in the gay community, the LGBT community, don't believe this. You don't see that. Why? It's taboo,
Yeah.
and we need to talk
Yeah.
about that. You know,
Yeah.
there's
And I
racist
think it needs to be talked about. But did you ever ask them why they were against same-sex marriage?
Oh, because they're just they just say they've been together for so many years. They thought they're at the basic attitude was, what's the point? We've been together for so long, you know. They're happy for it, but they didn't like believe in going after 30 years of marriage or 3 years being together. I'm gonna get married officially. They didn't believe in that. That's just
Yeah.
their views, and I can understand that.
Yeah. I've heard both arguments. I know some people
Yeah,
would kill me. Okay. With same-sex marriage, some people argue because we fought so hard for same-sex marriage that we've forgotten about, for example, the struggles of people of color within our community, the struggles of transgendered people, the struggles of women. So because we were so focused on it, to one in a way, and let's look at it. Marriage is not perfect. It's a heterosexual institution that basically tells men are supposed to be here, women are supposed to be here, children are supposed to be here. You're created to have, like, for example, when I was growing up, I was told you're supposed to get married, get a job, marry a woman, preferably a black woman, get a job with 6 figures in the suburbs, have kids, repeat.
I'd rather
That was directly said to me,
I'd
but
rather
that
date a
was
woman. I'd
given.
rather date a woman with 6 figures.
Don't we all? But then it ends
No,
up
but
being
you know
Alexis
that's a good
Kobe,
talk. No,
and then
that's
it ends up being a damn site according to
yeah,
Blake,
yeah,
and
yeah,
she was a damn site. Oh my God, Dynasty, those cat fights, holy shit. We're
yeah.
getting off topic, but
But
like,
that
yeah.
no, what you said about the okay, you know, I was studying to be a priest, right? A while back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was studying to be a priest, but a while back. So I had a lot of confrontation with my church members and communities. I said, look, okay, going back to that Jerry Falwell statement, back to the archaic way he is. Okay, I've studied the Bible. I read all the Bibles. I took the course. I read the catechism. I did the degrees. I did everything. How many years did it? Anyways, point is, right? The stereotype is inside yourself. You know, it's how you view things. You can be brought up a certain way. I was brought up Catholic. I'm proud Catholic. You know, I'm proud Catholic. I believe in this. But I say you can't stereotype the way you're brought up, the way you feel. Is how you perceive things, right?
Mhm.
You know. Oh, look, I'll put this in. I asked a whole bunch of people in a group. We got a big argument. I said, okay, let me ask you this question. There's 60 million people that are gay in the world, so they're all God's mistakes. Tell me about it.
Exactly.
I was okay. I just came out 2 weeks ago. I went to church the last how many years of my life. And now what? I'm shunned from the church. What happened there? Was there a big sword that you can't enter, you queer? Go back to being in the closet?
But
Doesn't make
more
sense.
importantly, in the Bible, and I'm not up on my Bible verses, but one of the things that all religions is about: love thy neighbor as yourself, be true to yourself, do not lie to yourself. And if you are a gay person and you're living a life of a lie, look at, and I known people, and like I said, I ain't no saint. I've been with some married men, and I
I'm
knew
married,
of
buddy. I've got the whole catalog over there.
you bad. And I know, and they live a double life when I
Yeah.
was single.
So
And
a
they
lot
live
like
that
and
double life. And it's a
a lot of
life that's a lie because yeah. And
a
I
lot of
didn't
ethnic
want that.
backgrounds do that. They still to this day. Like I know a lot of people in the Asian community. They're in the closet. They say they can't come out because we'd be shunned by our people. You know, we'd
Yeah.
be an embarrassment to the family, right? To
And
this
we all
day.
know what happens. Bruce McArthur came along. And Bruce McArthur, he preyed on Southeast Asian men.
Yep. Yep.
And look how many of them. And I remember Cell Block, and we're all ashamed that I remember seeing a poster when it first happened, and we're looking at it and say, oh, well, maybe they're hiding because you hear the stories, and I've heard of stories of the gay Southeast Asian men, can't speak for everybody, be hiding because they don't want to be entrapped, right? And not knowing that there was an actual monster out there preying on people,
Yeah. I
and the
met him.
only thing was
I met him there.
Dean Lissowick
I met him
was
after I
the
met
was
you,
a
eh? A
homeless
while back.
person.
Just a while back, I met him.
Yeah, Dean
Yeah.
Lissowick was, you met Bruce McArthur?
after I met you not too long ago. He tried picking me up. I was like, no, I was into the
Wow.
yeah, yeah. Didn't know what it was, you know. This is like late at night, you know.
And you know, Dean Lisser and Andrew were the exception to the rule, but thank God they caught him. But
Yeah,
that is the result of racism and homophobia in our community and whatnot. And but getting back to the whole marriage thing, it is also a legal contract. It's the reality. Like, for example, me and Dave want to get together. We're technically conjugal partners, but according to the law, it's a lot difficult with immigration. You know, we could be common law, but then I would have to go spend 6 months living with him. He would have to come spend 6 months living with me. At the end, we then apply.
yeah,
According to what I looked up and went to, you know, marriage ultimately is just the way it is in our society. It fast tracks everything, and it's legally binding contract. Yes, those two people don't want to get married, but I'll tell you a scary situation. There were two people I knew, Jerry and Mike. Now, Jerry was HIV positive, Mike was negative. This happened several years ago. One day, Mike showed up in a rainstorm similar to this kind of weather at my porch. And this is when I was living out in the East End. I'm like, what the fuck happened to you, Mike? Jerry's family kicked me out. Jerry's family never cared about these two people. The minute they came by the funeral and they were crying and they said, don't worry, we'll take care of you. The minute the funeral was over, they walked in and said, we want this, you get out. They never made a will.
oh my god,
Because of that, according to the law, the family took over
of
and they
course.
basically kicked Mike out in the middle of the rain. And they were so busy grabbing stuff. We went next day to pick up Mike's stuff. They knocked down a box of needles, which could have been, you know, so we made sure we took that to the pharmacy. And I never forgot that. And we tried to get the CBC, we tried to think, but according to the law, they weren't married. So that couple is also taking a big risk. And if they feel that way, you better have a will and you better
Yeah,
have the things in place. But you know, to each his own. And to me, you know, we're hoping that me and Dave we could get married. Why not have that ceremony? Why not have that celebration?
that's 6 months. So okay, they gave 6 months. Say you come back one day less of 6 months. It's not gonna work or what? It's so funny. The six
But
month thing, you know?
you have to take, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But
So
but that's why they have it. Technically, we're conjugal partners, but immigration would say, okay, why aren't you living in the same country? Well, we can't afford it, blah, blah, blah. Immigration is gonna say, too bad, because there's been too many people playing stunts. Like they
yeah,
go on vacation, they meet somebody, the person runs off on them, and then
yeah,
you're responsible for that person for the next 5 years, okay? Or it's a sham relationship. Person wants status, they pay the person, stand in as a beard or whatever to get married. The person gets a Canadian status, then they fuck off, you know? And the
I know.
person gets money. So immigration has clamped down on this and they know the games people are playing. So the innocent is suffering for the guilty. But
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a few bad apples and all that stuff. I mean, ask a question. When the McArthur got caught finally, a lot of lashing went from the community to onto the police, you know, because of lack
Yeah,
of
we were people were damn well angry. I know people up to this day are personally. In fact, I remember helping a friend putting up posters for I believe it was for Andrew, and we just put some posters around, and it was sad. It really, because I think about how many I've taken risks when I was living single.
yeah,
I live with a roommate now, but I was living single. I brought home guys I shouldn't have brought home, and I could have been stabbed or murdered
yeah,
or whatever. Only one or two weird situations happened, but I
yeah.
was lucky. I was very lucky,
But you
you
think the
know.
police could have a lot of blame went to the police with lack of well, how many guys were killed? Eight or they're actually they're still looking, I think, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like the
And the
first
way
one,
he did it was ingenious and
oh
putting the
yeah,
people like he was just like he was like the devil and it just shot the shit out of us. But you know, and I hope he stays in jail and rots, but you know, it's not gonna bring back those men's lives back,
but
you
that see
know.
that's happens in the community. See, it's not just in the outside the community. It happens everywhere. It's happening. Guys will come
But
in
it
the community.
affects our community
Yeah, it
because
does. Yeah,
he went after people that were the most vulnerable, especially Southeast Asian men
yep,
who are trying to go out there just like everybody else to explore their sexuality. And this monster took advantage of
yeah.
it.
Because he sees a guy interested in them, they come home and you're trusting. You know, like you said, you go home with
Yeah.
you
And he
trust.
went after a
You want to be
homeless
accepted.
guy. And he went after a homeless guy because, hey, who's going to look for a homeless guy?
Exactly.
But, you know, thank God, you know, Andrew's friends and family made a fuss, and they admitted, and they really went after him. And they even caught him at one point, according, and they just let him go because it's
Yeah,
for
that's right.
another
Yeah,
incident.
they
But now
brought
you're
that up
hearing
during the police.
stories of people who's been with him and played with him, and yeah, it's messed up. And like I said, I know friends of mine that's been affected up to this day. It's
Wow.
just as sad because they knew both parties, or they knew of Bruce, or whatever, and it's just it's a
I
tragedy,
guess
you
it
know.
times around the that the shell we have of accepting people. I trust them, and then suddenly that shell is busted. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
then when I
especially in the most vulnerable position, you
yeah
you know, being with somebody, thinking you could trust them,
yeah
thinking, and you took a risk like that, and the next thing you know, the person kills that person, and it
that
just,
doctor that killed his wife, the Indian doctor, he chopped off his wife with her briefcase or suitcase.
oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was this a while back. Anyways, when I do volunteer at one of the bazaars, there's this couple sell their stuff, their perfume stuff, and they told me that their doctor was this guy. Never
Yeah,
thought, and they went out to his kids. They had kids too. Their parties, their kids' parties, and their events. Went over for dinner, brought them over. But when they heard the news that this guy finally got caught, first they found the woman. They had to look for the guy, and they finally got him. And then it was like a complete shock. They said they to this day they're still affected that they let this guy in their house. But how you gonna know, right? Anybody can just you don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
You know
just
you
like I think there was a case, and it's happened some in the States, where this guy was in the closet, he was playing around with this other guy that's openly gay, and I guess he was afraid the openly gay guy was gonna say something. So he shot the guy and then pretended that the guy was committed suicide or whatever. And then he
yeah.
was found out. Thank God the police did their job, and they managed to get a confession that he was not only just a guy's lover. He was scared the guy was gonna rat him out to his family. So he shot the guy in cold blood.
Well, the guy McArthur. They said they arrested him once before McArthur, right? And then they
Yeah, I think they didn't really arrest him. They questioned him over some incident of assault, and then they let him go. And you know,
yeah that was
but 50-50 is hindsight, and we don't know. It's just thank God he's in jail now.
So as a member of the community, as me, what would you say we can do to get out of that stereotype? Just we got to change, just not change things, but move on to certain things. Like right now, the way it is right now, like okay, let's admit it. Pride is commercialized. It brings in the big sponsors because in acting you didn't have anything. Remember that? We had to fight to get money. You know,
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it's investing in pride. It's become so commercialized to a point. There's
yeah,
actually not demeated demeated the prey. The prey used to be more I don't know, exuberant, more lively, more not controversial, more shocking. Now it's come to a family affair, which is nice. Which is nice. You're taking now some of the
I think
unsung
it
you say.
has to be a balance. I think if the money could flow back into the community
That's what I
somehow,
mean. Because this thing,
that
I've had many stories running election. The money does not go back fully into community. All these people make, like a big company, they invest millions, but they have these rules and stipulations, right? And people don't realize that and they don't talk about the community. They should that these companies are coming in and say, "Hey, Pride sells. We make money off Pride. Queer is good. Let's make it. And we should." And then they don't get the money as they should. You know, they
but it
can.
all depends. It's that bad. There are some companies that do that, and actually because things are changing,
Yeah,
like incentives are happening, and creating a culture of inclusivity, that's changing. And there's others that are just there to get the pink
that's right.
dollar.
Yeah, yeah. That
Like
should be
Chick-fil-A,
respect.
I would love to I would love to the fact that our city has a Chick-fil or whatever, Remember we protested those guys. I remember I was interviewed on TV. I don't want no rats and chicken.
Which guy? Which guy? Which
I'll
guy?
take KFC and Church's Chicken over no Chick-fil-A. That ain't crossing my lips. It's evil. Oh my God. Remember we protested the hell out of that place. And yeah, those same people eating those Chick-fil-A's are running down to Pride. And it's
Yeah.
just like, no, I just know, and it's just, yeah.
How did it feel after
It's-
what 2.5 years? First Pride Parade last year in 2022. After so
yeah.
long,
Yeah, I'm
you know.
happy. I'm happy. I think Pride is going to continue having that debate. And I think what grew out of 2016, it started a global movement of everyone. Because in New York, I heard some of the cops try to march in New York and they were stopped by activists. And they were
Oh,
saying,
really?
no, you're not. Because they said that, you got to address a lot of stuff. And activists in New York and in LA and other places started taking their pride committees to task to address these social issues.
You think
And I
the
think it's
you think they should
important.
let the police back in? I mean, it's been a while now, right? What do you
I
think?
can't really comment about it, but again, all I know is this: because you could go and read up the 8 demands, and maybe you should talk to someone from Black Lives Matter to maybe address it better than me. But from my understanding, the police can always march, but not in their uniforms,
Yeah.
because for a lot of us, their uniforms represent oppression, racism. It's it's very jarring to me. Up to this day, even what happened to me in Montreal, I still get nervous around the
What about
cops.
the police officers that are part of the community? They wear the uniform. I've met a few of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they
they also have to understand what it means. If you guys are so concerned about the uniform, what are you doing to change the culture from within?
yeah.
And I've had a good discussion with some
Well,
cops, and
I
some of
don't
them,
yeah, actually I can't recall any names of the police force that are queer or whatever, lesbian, gay that are their names stand out like before. We had two way back. I think they retired or whatever, but
yeah.
nothing. Nobody stands up. No name singly stands out as one
But we
person.
need people to sit back and address and do those battles, to address homophobia when they see it, to address transphobia, sexism, even racism and ableism within the force. The force needs to become much more humane.
How come we don't
You
have
know,
an? I just give me that. Why don't we? How come we don't have an LGBT community in the police force, their own board, a separate thing? You know what?
they
Not
probably do. They probably have they probably
no, not like
do.
not that's the whole entity. I mean, they have mixture of here and there. I'm talking
Yeah.
about one specific like. Well, we have every year our own communities, right? We should
They
have like
probably
one.
do, but I probably do, but it's they probably do. But like I said, again, we can't speak for them. Again, get a cop on. If you feel that's wrong, fine if there's a gay cop to talk about their story and whatnot. But yeah, but the changes I've seen is now suddenly you're starting to have people address mental health issues. Remember
Oh
when
yeah,
someone was having an episode, like screaming in the street, I phoned 911, and the first thing he asks is, do you need an ambulance, fire, police, or a mental health nurse? Because they actually
uh,
have mental health people coming down so that it doesn't end up that person getting shot or killed or maimed or the police getting hurt
those
too.
50, well, those
Because
15 police officers checking that one guy with mental condition. Like I said, okay, you talk about the calling that one about the mental. Why did they call somebody on their phone that has as a professional, psychiatrist, psychologist, say instead of saying 15 guys taking out one guy? Come on, 15 guys taking out one guy. Why did they call a professional and say, what should we do? We're not trained in this position. We're not trained in this scenario. Why couldn't they
I
have done?
think that's what they have. They have a mental health nurse that comes with them.
Yeah, but I mean, 15 guys at the time when they're yeah, come on, you got 15 guys and one guy. Like how many cops take on one guy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
But it
this,
depends on the level of threat, right? But like I
yeah,
said, I can't really speak for cops. All I know is things are changing in the institution. Things are changing. I know there's a whole controversy having more cops again on the subway. Does it make it safe? Yeah, but at what cost?
yeah.
And
And
because
do
there
they
are
pay?
people.
And do they pay fair like we do?
Yeah. Well, it's just the way I look at it. It's just a stopgap solution to a bigger society. There are a lot of unhoused people out there, and there's a lot of people mental health that are struggling. And if
Oh
you're
yeah,
unhoused, you're thinking about surviving. There's times you want to scream at the world. I think one of the worst things that happened to me, it almost happened to me, not just getting kicked out of my own home, got into argument for a roommate, didn't know about my rights. Next, he kicked me out on the spot. And if it wasn't for good friends that helped me out, I would have been homeless too.
yeah.
And it was scary, you know, because he held all the cards. And I never forgot that. And up to this day, me and this person talk. He's like, I'm friends with your friends and we should talk like bad guy. I'm like, my friends can talk to you. Okay. And they can be friends. But until we talk like men, face to face, what you did to me, I got not a damn thing to say to you. And he hasn't said anything since. I've seen him around. It's been tough. Sometimes I get the urge of like, I'm gonna curse off this motherfucker. But you know what? He ain't worth it. I look
What
at my
happened to you?
life
See,
now. In fact, I
yeah,
have to thank him because what doesn't kill you doesn't make you stronger. And I say tough times may last, but tough times don't last all the time. Tough people do.
that's how I met you. You know, I never told this
Yeah,
story. That's how I met you.
yeah,
I was in Pickering,
yeah.
with my sister.
Mhm.
I was on a calling, spiritual calling. Make story short. Anyways, I moved there to Pickering with theirs. We got in big fights with the kids, especially the kids, the way I raised kids and all. Anyways, make story short, get out of the house. June 30th, 2004. No, because I gave it up my apartment. I was gonna move somewhere else, but get out. I had my bag, my kit, and everything. That was it. I was done. Walking from Pickering to the bus to Scarborough Subway, stayed at a buddy's place in the West End there. And you know who your friends are, right? I knew this guy for 30 years in the high school. Everywhere in the military I went, any base, any place I lived, he'd always come stay with me for 3 weeks, 3 weeks. Like, here's the key. Say I couldn't stay with him one night overnight. He wouldn't let me stay in his apartment by myself. Go figure. Anyways, next day, July 1st, 2004, I went down the Church Street. That's where I started meeting people. And that's when I met you later on through the months. That's how I met you. But I know what you mean. Getting kicked out. I'm wearing my backpack, my army duffel bag, my suitcase, three things, wearing my vest, walking around the streets, homeless.
I had to pick up, man. I picked up, and it was just I never forgot him and his boyfriend, and he just sat there and laughed when I was getting kicked out the house after one nasty fight.
They said they treated it like nonchalant. Oh, it's okay, just move on. Like you know what, you don't really do to people. They
No,
make an impact.
no, and I just, I looked that son of a bitch and up to this day. I said to him, my friends could be friends with you, but I'll never ever forgive you.
Yeah,
But I have to
exactly.
thank you because you gave me the fire in my ass to continue to fight and to be
That's right.
independent. And
And
and that's why, yeah, I fell down. Consumer proposal. I continue learning, hustle. Working Uber teaches you to hustle. It teaches you how to be tough in a way. And I talk to some of these are people are foreign students, some of them are investing into Bitcoin. That's how I found out. This guy walked up to me, probably thought I was younger because I was wearing a mask, he was wearing a mask. It was kind of like a cute chubby dude, so I'm like, yeah, we started kicking the shit and we're just
yeah,
talking. And then he told me about Bitcoin and Ethereum and about NFTs, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I looked it up. I was like, holy shit. So I started looking at it, dabbled in it, not that successful in it. It's okay. It's a long-term venture. I have my other
yeah.
investments to worry about,
The
but
biggest
yeah,
survivalist, being victim survivalist, you met all these people, the experience make you. I mean, I would say make you better, for a more experienced person, but learning. Your experiences and my experience. It's good back to the community because we can say what would happen to us. You can see, you can see the kid in the subway. What you've been through, you can see yourself in that subway that day.
yeah. And
That
I
could have been
saw, and
you.
I may not be his son, I may not be his
No,
kin, but at that moment, you have to say something, and more of us has to say. And it was scary. Yeah, he could have stabbed me. Yeah, he could have done this. But how many times, and I see this little kid, like a fair little kid, trying to pull up his pants,
yeah,
trying
yeah,
to be all bad. His pants is
yeah,
halfway sagging. I'm like, dude, no, you could do more with your life.
yeah.
You have the brain to fucking deal, yeah, and crack cocaine. Yeah, you're not gonna go to jail. Yeah, then you have the brain to fucking,
You
go
can
to
take the
school.
easy way out, or you can take the hard way out. You know.
And trust me, if he wasn't scared of the cops, he would have stayed.
Yeah.
But he left the minute the thing he got scared and ran out.
Yeah. So one day, you never know. One day you might meet him and you'll be in a better
I hope
space.
so. I hope so. I
So
really do.
I got 1 minute left, 1 minute and a half. So you want to say anything or say anything to me before we get cut off
I
here?
just want to say thank you very much. I look back at my years in Toronto. It's been like 22, 23 years in December I've been here, and it's been a
I've
blessing.
known you what 20? I know you since 2004, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Zippers there and all fun there, having fun there. You
yeah.
know.
And fuck racism.
Yeah.
I don't care. Fuck it. And
Hey
fuck
man,
sexism and
I'm
fuck
half Irish. What are you
homophobia.
talking about?
And you know what I mean?
I
And
know.
transphobia and all that stuff.
Oh
We
yeah,
all
yeah,
gotta love each
yeah.
other. And
And
go
you know,
Leafs. You gotta win.
okay, let's not go that
I
far. Let's
still
not
cheer
go
for my
that far, buddy.
Habs. I still cheer for my Habs.
I know.
But
Anyways, I'm gonna.
they're dumb or core. The Habs are always in my heart, but these bloody Leafs better win because this jersey cost me $200.
Get
I
rid of
can't
half.
afford
I
to pitch
don't
it
need to
in
go there.
the sea.
No.
in Lake Ontario.
I just want to say thanks for coming to the show. I got 1 minute left to say goodbye. I want to say thank. I'm honored to have you back on my show finally after so long and
Yeah.
your support during the election. And we're doing another video, do another interview. We continue on. Great conversation.
Yeah, just shoot the
Thank,
shit. Yeah.
yeah, just shoot the shit, and next time shave a little better like me. I mean.
Anyways, you take care.
Okay, have a good. I love you,
As
man.
you say in
Take care.
Quebec, salut, bye bye.
I know. I love you. I love you, my son. Like you're my brother. I love you so much. Take care.
All the
Okay,
best. You too. Bye bye. Salut, bye bye.
I will.